Are you standing in the aisle of a gun shop, scrolling through classified ads, or hovering over that Buy Now button online, thinking you've just found the deal of the year? A sleek little pistol with a price tag that looks too good to ignore. The truth is, the gun world is full of landmines disguised as bargains, and every year, thousands of first-time buyers walk straight into them. In 2025, with firearm prices climbing and more Americans than ever shopping the used market, the risk has never been higher. When we talk about the most regrettable brands, the conversation almost always begins with a phrase that sounds like it belongs in a detective novel: the Ring of Fire. But it's not fiction. It's a real group of Southern California handgun manufacturers that became infamous in the 1980s and 1990s for flooding the streets with dirt-cheap pistols. Names like Jimenez Arms, Lorson Engineering, Raven Arms, and Sundance Industries might not ring a bell to everyone, but to seasoned shooters and law enforcement officers, they're red flags the size of a billboard. These guns earned another nickname: Saturday Night Specials. They were marketed as affordable, no-frills self-defense weapons. But what many buyers didn't realize was that the very material holding them together, zinc alloy, also known as pot metal, was a recipe for disaster. Unlike the hardened steel used in trusted brands, this weak alloy is prone to cracking, warping, and in some cases, catastrophic failure under pressure. Imagine pulling the trigger in the middle of a life-or-death encounter and hearing nothing but a jam, or worse, watching the frame itself split. That's not paranoia. It's documented reality. And reliability? Forget about it. Misfeeds, stovepipes, jams. It's not just that they happen. It's that they happen often. Law enforcement reports, field tests, and even everyday gun owners have echoed the same story for decades. These firearms simply cannot be trusted when it matters most. Add to that the fact that nearly every one of these companies has gone under. No warranty, no spare parts, no customer service. If your gun fails, it becomes nothing more than a paperweight, one that might have already endangered your life. Take Jimenez Arms, for example. Once a reincarnation of earlier failed ventures like Brico and Jennings, the company was repeatedly sued over unintentional discharges and flawed designs. By 2020, they were under investigation by the ATF for illegal sales and finally filed for bankruptcy. Yet their pistols still circulate today, offered up at pawn shops and gun shows as if nothing ever happened. The bargain hunter sees a $100 price tag. The experienced shooter sees a ticking time bomb. And here's the real kicker. These guns don't just fail their owners. They've been linked to countless crimes, tragedies, and court cases over the decades. Gun safety advocates, police departments, and prosecutors coined the term Ring of Fire for a reason. It wasn't about geography. It was about the wildfire of problems these firearms created wherever they spread. But here's the sobering truth you need to hear. They're still out there. That pawn shop special you're eyeing, that online listing that seems like a steal. It might very well be one of these ghosts from the past. And the moment you take it home, you inherit every one of its flaws, risks, and liabilities. So ask yourself this: is shaving $100 off your budget really worth gambling with your safety, your future, and potentially your freedom? Because when it comes to firearms, the wrong choice costs far more than money. It could cost you everything. If the Ring of Fire brands were the ghosts of the past, then SECY Industries is the fresh wound of the present. For years, SECY tried to position itself as the everyman's gunmaker, a proud American company offering affordable pistols small enough for concealed carry and simple enough for new shooters. On paper, it looked like the perfect entry-level choice: compact, lightweight, and backed by the claim of being made in the USA. But in March of 2025, SECY Industries officially shut its doors for good. The bankruptcy announcement landed like a thunderclap. Declining sales, snarled supply chains, and mounting customer dissatisfaction finally pushed the company off the cliff. Thousands of SECY owners woke up one morning to find themselves stranded with firearms no longer supported by the manufacturer. That means no warranty repairs, no replacement parts, no customer service line to call when something goes wrong. And when it comes to firearms, something will eventually go wrong. Springs wear out, magazines get damaged, extractors snap. Guns are machines, and machines need maintenance. Without the factory behind them, your SECY becomes a gamble with every trigger pull. Think about what that means in practice. Maybe you already own a SECY pistol that's been reliable so far, but the moment you need a new magazine or the firing pin weakens, you're on your own. Gunsmiths can sometimes fabricate or modify parts, but at a premium, and not every shop is willing to take on the headache. For the first-time buyer, stumbling across a SECY pistol at a discount table might feel like a lucky break. In reality, it's an orphaned weapon, cheap now, but costly later. And here's the brutal truth. SECY was never considered flawless, even in its prime. Owners frequently complained of stiff triggers, rough finishes, and inconsistent reliability. The company had its defenders, sure, but it never climbed to the level of trust earned by brands like Smith & Wesson, Glock, or Ruger. Now, with the company dead, every unresolved issue just got magnified. That $50 savings up front could turn into a total loss when your pistol becomes a single-shot paperweight. This is why brand stability matters. A firearm isn't just another consumer product. It's not a microwave or a coffee maker. It's a tool you may stake your life on, and when the company behind it disappears, so does the safety net, and that leaves you holding the risk. The SECY collapse should serve as a warning to every buyer in 2025. Yes, we all want to save money. Yes, entry-level buyers often search for budget-friendly options. But the true cost of a firearm isn't just the sticker price. It's the long-term trust, support, and service behind it. Without that, you're not buying protection. You're buying uncertainty. And uncertainty is the last thing you want tucked inside your waistband or sitting on the nightstand when you hear glass shatter at 2 a.m. So before you scoop up that discounted SECY, ask yourself, do you want a sidearm you can trust or a souvenir from a company that no longer exists? Because in the end, there's no such thing as a bargain if the cost is your safety. Walk into any pawn shop or browse the bargain bins of a gun store, and you're bound to stumble on a Cobra pistol. At first glance, it might seem like a sensible option for someone strapped for cash. They're small, simple, and the price tag can be shockingly low compared to major name brands. But what looks like an entry-level solution quickly reveals itself as one of the most frustrating ownership experiences in the firearms world. The biggest complaint that echoes across online forums, gun range conversations, and review columns is one word: reliability, or rather, the lack of it. Cobra handguns are notorious for choking when they're needed most. Failures to feed, failures to eject, failures to reset. Every mechanical malfunction you can imagine has been reported by owners who trusted these pistols for personal defense. Imagine preparing to defend yourself, drawing your sidearm, pulling the trigger, and nothing happens but a jam. In that instant, the bargain you thought you scored could cost you your life. And it doesn't stop there. Many Cobra models are made with zinc alloy frames, the same pot metal infamous in the ring of fire pistols. That means the durability question starts from the very first shot. Internal parts are often rough, poorly fitted, and prone to wearing down faster than you'd expect. What should be a dependable tool begins to feel like a disposable trinket. And when it comes to firearms, disposable is not a word you ever want in the same sentence. Then there's quality control, or rather, the absence of it. Reports from both professional reviewers and everyday shooters point to a disturbing inconsistency. One buyer might get a pistol that functions, at least for a while the next ends up with a lemon that fails right out of the box. It's like playing roulette with your safety, and in 2025, when better options exist, that's a gamble no responsible buyer should take. Support from the company? Technically, Cobra is still in business, but support is a generous term. Owners have complained about sluggish turnaround times for warranty repairs and difficulty tracking down replacement parts. If your model is discontinued, the search can turn into a nightmare. The frustration of dealing with poor service only compounds the disappointment of owning a gun that was never reliable in the first place. So why do people still buy Cobras? The answer is simple: price. In a world where reputable handguns often start at $400 or more, a Cobra might look like a quick fix at a fraction of the cost. But here's the reality. Modern buyers have better options than ever before. Major manufacturers now offer entry-level pistols designed specifically for budget-conscious shooters, with warranties, safety features, and reputations that Cobra could never match. The difference in cost is often less than the price of a weekend at the range, yet the difference in trustworthiness is night and day. The hard truth is this: if you are relying on a firearm for self-defense, reliability isn't optional. It's the single most important factor. And choosing a pistol with a track record of malfunctions is like choosing a parachute that only works half the time. It might save you once, but what about the time it doesn't? In 2025, buying a Cobra pistol isn't just a questionable choice. It's a mistake with potentially devastating consequences. The illusion of saving money can blind you to the real cost: your safety, your security, and your peace of mind. And when you peel back the sticker price, you realize the Cobra isn't a bargain. It's a liability. When people debate the worst gun designs in modern firearms history, one name almost always crashes into the conversation like an uninvited guest: the USFA Zip-22. If Cobra pistols are frustrating, the Zip-22 is a full-blown disaster, remembered not just as a bad gun, but as a cautionary tale of innovation gone horribly wrong. The story begins with the United States Firearms Manufacturing Company, a firm once respected for crafting beautiful, high-quality revolvers. Collectors knew their single-action models as tributes to the Old West, finely made pieces of American craftsmanship. But then came the Zip, an attempt to leap into the future with a polymer-framed pistol that looked like it belonged in a sci-fi movie. The promise was bold: a modular, futuristic, .22 caliber firearm that could serve as both a pistol and an underbarrel accessory for a rifle. On paper, it sounded like a glimpse of tomorrow. In practice, it was an absolute nightmare. The first problem was reliability, or more accurately, the total lack of it. Owners reported jams, stovepipes, misfeeds, and double feeds so frequently that just firing a single magazine without malfunction felt like winning the lottery. Videos of shooters struggling with the Zip-22 flooded online platforms, each one reinforcing the same grim reality: this was not a functional firearm. For anyone expecting a dependable plinker or training pistol, the dream collapsed after the very first range trip. Then there were the ergonomics, or better said, the absence of ergonomics. The Zip's design ditched the traditional pistol grip, replacing it with a flat, awkward frame that felt unnatural and unstable in the hand. Controls were oddly placed and unintuitive, making safe operation a struggle even for experienced shooters. For new gun owners, it bordered on dangerous. But the most bizarre element was the supposed innovation of compatibility. The Zip could be mounted beneath a rifle barrel, effectively turning it into a strange add-on module. But this so-called feature created even more safety concerns. Manipulating the awkward controls while mounted under a rifle introduced confusion, unsafe handling risks, and added zero practical value. It was a gimmick that placed form over function, and it failed spectacularly. The fallout was swift. The Zip was discontinued not long after launch, but the damage was done. Instead of being remembered as a bold step forward, it became a meme in the gun community, mocked as one of the worst firearms ever released. Yet here's the troubling part: the Zip-22 hasn't disappeared. Secondary markets, pawn shops, and online listings still showcase them, often pitched as novelties or collector's items. But behind the marketing gloss lies the same dangerous truth: this firearm is fundamentally broken. To be clear, not every gun needs to be perfect to earn a place in history. Some flawed firearms still manage to inspire innovation or carve out niche followings. The Zip-22, however, offers no such redemption. It's not just unreliable, it's unsafe, impractical, and doomed by design. It serves as a brutal reminder that not all progress is forward, and not all innovation deserves applause. So, if you see a Zip-22 for sale and think it might be a fun addition to your collection, stop and ask yourself, do you want a piece of history, or do you want a piece of failure? Because while the Zip might be memorable, it's remembered for all the wrong reasons. Up until now, we've looked at brands known for cheap shortcuts, poor materials, or wild experiments gone wrong. But what happens when a respected giant, one trusted by law enforcement, military units, and armed citizens alike, falls under fire for safety concerns? Enter the SIG P320. This pistol isn't a bargain bin oddity or a discontinued relic. It's a mainstream sidearm, praised for its modular design and striker-fired simplicity. Yet, in 2025, it remains one of the most controversial firearms in America. The heart of the controversy is chilling: reports that the P320 can discharge without the trigger ever being touched. Picture that for a moment: a gun firing simply because it was dropped, bumped, or struck at the wrong angle. That's not a rumor. That's documented fact. Over 80 incidents of accidental discharges have been reported nationwide, many involving trained law enforcement officers. Men and women who trusted their duty pistols found themselves injured by the very tool meant to protect them. Investigations confirmed the danger. Lawsuits piled up. Insurance companies balked. Families demanded answers. And under the weight of mounting evidence, SCCY launched a voluntary upgrade program back in 2017, offering to retrofit affected pistols with modified triggers and internal parts. But here's the critical catch. It wasn't a recall. Owners weren't required to send their guns in. That means countless unmodified P320s are still in circulation, lurking in holsters, nightstands, and gun safes. To this day, many unsuspecting buyers have no idea whether the pistol they're holding has been upgraded, or if it's one sharp impact away from a negligent discharge. The fallout has been staggering. Entire police departments have pulled the P320 from service. The New York City Transit Authority banned it. The Dallas Independent School District Police removed it from their lineup. These are not casual hobbyists. They are institutions responsible for protecting lives in some of the toughest environments in the country. Their rejection of the P320 sends a loud, unmistakable message. This pistol cannot be universally trusted. Now, to be fair, newer models manufactured after the upgrade have shown improvements. They function safely, perform well, and in many respects live up to SIG's reputation. But the uncertainty remains. Which models are safe? Which ones carry the defect? Without careful serial number verification or documentation, buyers are left in the dark. And when trust is everything in a firearm, that kind of uncertainty is poison. It's a bitter lesson for the gun community. A respected brand name doesn't guarantee perfection. Law enforcement contracts don't guarantee peace of mind. Even a titan like SIG can stumble, and when it does, the consequences ripple through every level of gun ownership in America. The P320 controversy forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the very brands we hold up as paragons of reliability can betray that trust. So here's the haunting question. Every potential buyer must ask, do you really want to roll the dice on a pistol that's been banned from police holsters, entangled in lawsuits, and shadowed by a defect that has already injured dozens? Or would you rather place your trust in a sidearm without that baggage? Because at the end of the day, owning a firearm isn't about what looks good in the case. It's about what won't fail you in the moment of truth. And the P320, for all its innovation and acclaim, still carries a cloud it may never escape. By now, we've walked through the bargain bin disasters, the orphaned companies, and even the respected titan that stumbled into controversy. But there's another layer of danger in the gun world. Legacy brands that no longer exist, yet refuse to disappear from circulation. These are the ghosts of the firearms market, and in 2025, they haunt gun shows, online listings, and pawn shops across America. Think about names like Jimenez Arms, Raven Arms, Lorson Engineering, Sundance Industries, and United States Firearms Manufacturing Company. Every one of these brands has shut its doors. Their factories are silent, their phone lines disconnected, their customer service reps long gone, yet their guns are still out there, moving from hand to hand, often at prices that tempt the uninformed. The problem is simple but deadly. When the company vanishes, so does your safety net. No warranty, no spare parts, no official repairs. That means if your firing pin breaks, your extractor fails, or your magazine spring wears out, you're on your own. Maybe a gunsmith can cobble something together, maybe not. But the costs, the delays, and the uncertainty land squarely on your shoulders. Here's the danger that too many new buyers overlook. Just because a gun works today doesn't mean it will work tomorrow. Firearms are machines, and machines wear down. Without factory support, even a reliable shooter can transform overnight into an expensive paperweight. And when you need that firearm for defense, the timing couldn't be worse. Collectors sometimes chase these guns, treating them as curiosities or oddities from a bygone era. And that's fine, as long as they're never intended for serious use. But for a first-time buyer, for a single mother looking for protection, or a new homeowner thinking about safety, owning one of these legacy pistols is like buying a used car without brakes. It may look intact, it may even start up, but the moment you hit the road, the risk becomes undeniable. The rise of the used gun market in 2025 makes this risk even greater. With inflation pushing new firearm prices higher, bargain hunters turn to second-hand deals. The temptation is real. A handgun for half the cost of a Glock, sitting in a display case with a tag that whispers, affordable. But what that tag doesn't say is that the factory's been closed for years, that the warranty is worthless, and that every flaw baked into that design is now your responsibility. So let's call it what it is. Legacy brands aren't just old, they're dangerous. They lull buyers into a false sense of savings while hiding the brutal truth. Support is gone. Reliability is questionable, and trust has long since evaporated. Unless you're a collector who knows exactly what you're getting into, these firearms have no place in your holster, your nightstand, or you're safe. Because when it comes to self-defense, uncertainty kills, and legacy brands offer nothing but uncertainty. As we wrap this journey through the firearms you'll regret owning, one truth shines brighter than all the rest. Buying a gun is not just about saving money or grabbing whatever's on sale. It's about trust, it's about longevity, and it's about the responsibility you take on the moment you bring that firearm into your home, your holster, or your life. Every single example we've covered, whether it's the fragile pot metal pistols of the Ring of Fire, the orphaned remnants of SECY, the unreliable missteps of Cobra firearms, the disaster story of the Zip 22, or the cloud of lawsuits surrounding the SIG P320, underscores the same point. A firearm is not a toy. It is not a fashion statement. It is a tool that, in the worst-case moment, stands between you and mortal danger. And in that moment, failure is not an option. That's why relying on discontinued brands, cheap knockoffs, or defect-prone models is such a reckless gamble. It might feel like you're saving $100 at the counter, but what you're really doing is stacking the odds against yourself when everything is on the line. Without factory support, without consistent reliability, without a clean safety record, you are not buying security. You are buying risk. And yet, here's the hopeful part. In 2025, the firearms market is bigger and more competitive than ever. Major manufacturers, Smith & Wesson, Glock, Ruger, Springfield Armory, and others, offer entry-level models that are both affordable and trustworthy. They back their products with warranties, they stand by their customers, and they deliver designs that have been tested in real-world conditions. The difference between gambling on a Cobra and investing in a Ruger Security 9 might be less than the cost of a single weekend range trip. That's the kind of perspective every buyer needs to keep in mind. The Second Amendment guarantees Americans the right to keep and bear arms. But with that right comes a responsibility. To yourself, to your family, and to your community. Choosing a firearm isn't just about exercising a right. It's about honoring the weight of that responsibility. Every negligent discharge, every catastrophic failure, every tragic story tied to a poorly made firearm undermines the very culture of responsible gun ownership we fight to preserve. So here's the takeaway. Be an informed buyer. Do your homework. Research the brand, the model, the warranty, the recalls. Don't be lured by low prices or flashy gimmicks. Ask yourself the hard questions. Will this company still be here in 5 years? Will they stand behind me if something goes wrong? Can I trust this gun not just at the range, but in the moment when my life depends on it? Because the answer to those questions could mean the difference between walking away safe or never walking away at all. The choice is yours. Don't let a bargain blind you. Don't let a logo fool you. And don't let history repeat itself. The guns we've talked about today earned their place on the blacklist for a reason. Learn from their failures. Protect yourself with wisdom, not with wishful thinking. Stay safe, stay smart. And always remember, the right gun from the right brand isn't just a purchase. It's peace of mind.